So how do you navigate seasons of transition?
Seasons of transition can be difficult, and I talk about this in the book about sometimes there's what we call a midnight hour. In the Bible, it talks about a story about Paul and Silas being put in jail, and they were put in jail because they were falsely accused. And during that time, they decided intentionally to pray. And what I talk about it says in that scripture, it says, and at midnight. Midnight describes a time in our lives where it's no longer night, but it's not yet day. So you're in this transition period. And midnight can be a place where you don't quite understand, like, am I fully out of the night? Am I fully out of the thing that I need to be out of? And sometimes midnight can represent some what others may call the dark night of the soul. So you may find out that your entire life and everything that you have known has not been true to what you thought it was. And
Right.
you might feel like everything's about to fall apart. But in those times of transition, you have the ability to get back in center with yourself. And this is where my encouragement is to, get back and connect. And during that same scripture, it talks about, it said Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises to God. So prayer, meditation again, and journaling, I'm going to hit on is that you come back to that center by putting yourself there. And maybe you have a song that encourages you and lifts you up. Whatever that song might be, it can help us. It can help you in that moment so that when you are sitting there in that midnight situation, in that transition period, in that season of life, as the scripture tells us in Ecclesiastes, that there's a time and there's a season for everything. And just remember that this time and this season right now, it will be something that you can make it through, and that there is a dawning of day that is coming, even though it may be midnight and I'm in an uncertain space in my life. I can now start to say, you know what I'm going to do at this moment, and this is similar to what happened when my brother passed at the age of 19, is that it hurt. You're in a hurting place. You got a lot of pain. There's a lot that's happening there. And what you must do at that moment is acknowledge that, let it be what it is. And what I encourage, of course, if you have the ability to talk to a therapist, talk to a pastor, whomever you need to talk to in those spaces that can allow you to be you, not judge you, not look at what you're doing and tell you, you shouldn't be that way. Wait a minute now. We all go through tough times. We all go through tough things and tough transitions. It might be a transition on your job or whatever. It might not be a heavy grief at the time, but it's still some type of grief because you have a transition or change in your job. Whatever it is at that moment, that you are able to feel it, that you are able to then not only feel it, but then express it and say, you know what, I'm good. I can now accept it, whatever it is. And now I'm ready to find out what is going to be the next step. But and until you are able to acknowledge that, until you are able to accept it, you got to let it play out and let it process. And then you're going to be able to finally move to a space where you say, you know what, I'm now going to move to that intention stuff and start to intentionally move. But if you try to do the intention before you kind of get through that process, and it may be painful for a while, and you let it be, but then you can let that go as you accept where things are at this moment, and then you can move forward.